Ray BLK hails from Southeast London. She's a singer-songwriter known for her introspective and socio-political lyrics. Her stage name BLK stands for Building, Living, Knowing, which she describes as her three main values. Ray BLK's status amongst both fans of urban music and music industry critics has earned her widespread praise, and in 2017, Ray became the first unsigned artist to win BBC's annual Sound of Award. Join me in welcoming Ray after her new single dropped last night.
Oh, I'm not that short, surely. Hi, everyone. Evening. I am very happy to be here. You try and speak into the mic. I'm used to this. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to be here today with you. I thought about what I was going to say for quite a while because I felt like it had to be something really motivational and like life-changing because I'm at Cambridge University and you guys are, you know, the future leaders of tomorrow, and I felt like I had to make sure, you know, I use like really big words that you have to look in the dictionary for, and then I just decided to be me and to just speak about something. Do you know, I'm going to hold this. To speak about something that is true to me and something that I think we all experience, and I've experienced a lot as an artist, but just as a regular human, and I think it affects most of us. So today I wanted to talk about pressure. I have experienced pressure my whole life. Pressure to fit in, pressure to stand out, pressure to excel. And some of that pressure has helped me get the achievements that I have today. But a lot of that pressure, sadly, at times have been crippling. People love to use that saying that pressure makes diamonds, but sometimes pressure actually makes you crack, makes you crack to pieces. And I've definitely cracked at times, and I had to find a way to navigate that and find a way to keep my sanity, to be honest. And honestly, that came through the realization, in simplest terms, that it's really not that deep. It's not that serious. Nothing is that serious to allow it to weigh you down so much. And it seems really cliche, but I believe that the best version of you is you being yourself. And that once you've worked hard and done your best, there's nothing more you can do and it's out of your hands. So I thought I would give you guys a little background into my story and my career so far, for those that don't know. I was born in Nigeria. I came to London at the age of 4 with my 2 siblings. One who has disabilities, he has severe learning difficulties, and the other who also struggled with education at school. My mother and father split when I was around 8 years old, and my mum became a single parent with no support, and she worked her hardest to make sure she could give us the best life possible, given the circumstances she was in. And I would say that those circumstances that I grew up in is what created my first experience of pressure. So as I was the most academic of my siblings, there was a lot of expectation on me. Inside and outside of my family, people would always say, you know, you're going to be a lawyer, or you're going to be a politician, or you should be an engineer, you're going to be someone great and make a name in this family. And as much as that's amazing, and that's great to hear, people have such aspirations for you, it is a lot of pressure to put on somebody who's just 11 years old, where at the time I was just more focused on like creating a collage for my favorite rappers that I thought were the sexiest and like putting them up in my wall. I just wanted to look at 50 Cent in peace, to be honest. I didn't want to be bogged down with all of that. But I absorbed all of that, and I felt from such a young age that I had to achieve so much with my life. and not bring shame to my family by not meeting all of these expectations that they had. Along with that, seeing my mother struggle as a single parent gave me this real determination to change her life and make sure that my family would never struggle again. So I actually started working while studying from the age of 16, and I carried on working weekend jobs throughout university as well, all the way up until now. I've been working since I was 16, and I think I did that because I just felt so much pressure to provide for my family, even as a child. And that created a lot of heaviness on me, especially whenever I felt like I didn't succeed at something, or just feeling like I hadn't yet changed their lives the way I wanted to. And eventually that actually started to spill out into my stage performances when I became an artist, but I'll get into that later. But I wanted to talk about my first instance of not succumbing to pressure, which was me doing basically the unthinkable as a Nigerian child. I don't think we've got any Nigerians here, but I did the unthinkable by not studying law. Oh my God, wow, what a travesty. I chose not to study law. I did it for the first year, actually. I studied it for a year. And no offense to anybody studying law here, by the way, but that is very boring. Like, really, really boring. I hope you love it. I'm sure you love it if you're studying it. But for me, it was not for me. I think because I had this idea in my head that it was going to be like Ally McBeal, if anybody knows what Ally McBeal is. And I thought it's like, you walk into the courtroom and you're like, Your Honor, it was him. And it's all like really dramatic, but it was just loads of books. It was just a hell of a lot of books, and a lot of information that I was really just uninterested in, and I felt forced to learn. And so I thought, if I tell my mum I'm not studying law, she's going to have a heart attack, basically. So I decided to change my course to English without telling her. I decided to study English literature, and I had so much anxiety about telling her that I actually didn't tell her for almost a year that I was studying English literature. And when I did tell her, she wasn't the happiest, but she supported me because she told me that it's my life and I'll be the one who has to live it. And honestly, changing my course was, I would say, one of the best decisions that I made, because it meant that I was doing something that I loved, and also I didn't have that heaviness that I was carrying. And that degree honestly really helped me to be the songwriter that I am today. However, little did my mum know that I was going to take things a step further and do even more madness and decide after uni that I was going to become a singer. Wow. Which, again, coming from a Nigerian family, is very frowned upon, let's just say that. But again, my mum was actually very supportive of that. I think because it's like, okay, you finished uni, you can live your life a bit now. She was supportive of that, and actually where the pressure came from this time was from within the music industry. I don't even know where to start when it comes to the music industry, because I feel like I've experienced, in my small time that I've been in this, I've experienced most of the pressures, I feel like. But I think where I felt the most pressure was the expectation on me from my community. As one of only 2 dark-skinned women in the UK music scene, the other being Neo at the time, we were the only 2, I think, that were given a platform around then. And in 2017, I won the BBC Sound of Music Award. Woo! Somebody, woo! Woo! Oh my God! Yes! And it was very prestigious. It is a very prestigious award, previously won by the likes of Adele, Sam Smith, Jessie J, just to name a few. And it's an award given to a fairly new artist that just shows a lot of promise. And so winning that was really humbling. It was overwhelming. I was so like happy about that, to be received in such a way. But I think what I wasn't prepared for was the pressure that came with that from all angles. I met so many people from inside the music business to just fans on the street, people in the public who told me that them seeing me in the spotlight felt like they were being represented and seen in a time where we hadn't seen someone like ourselves in the spaces that I was entering. People would tell me they felt like I was the voice of the young generation and that I had to go out there and just smash it for all the black girls watching in the UK. And honestly, there's nothing like being embraced and being held by your community. And all of those words of encouragement were amazing, but with that came a lot of pressure, like pressure to represent a whole demographic of people in the right light, pressure to excel so that I don't let them down, and also to be perfect in the way that I carry myself as to not add to negative stereotypes that people already had of us. So I started becoming very careful about absolutely everything, to be honest, from the way I spoke. I'm not somebody who, I don't use like loads of slang, but the little bits of slang that I do use, I literally stopped using that because I didn't want anybody to see me as like ghetto or too street, and add to, like I said, the stereotypes people had or we feel have of young black people, down to me even tweaking the way that I dressed and trying to be a bit more refined, and also refraining from speaking out about frustrations or certain topics that affect black people because I didn't want to seem like the angry black woman that just complains all the time, that we are a lot of the time portrayed as. And all of this was to create this perfect representation of black women and to live up to the standards that people held me to. And furthermore, I felt like I didn't just have to succeed for myself, but I had to just succeed for those who were watching, people who felt like my journey was a sign of hope and acceptance of them. And the great expectations that my family had for me, and the expectations I, of course, had for myself, only further fueled this. Like I mentioned earlier, all of this started affecting me on stage. The same people who would tell me they felt represented by me in the same breath kept reminding me that seldom did people like myself get this opportunity, as usually black women, we just don't get very far in this industry. To the point where someone told me to focus on songwriting rather than pursuing being a performing artist. Boo! And with all of this on my shoulders, it created an immense amount of anxiety. Before every single performance, small, big, I could be doing like Glastonbury, nervous as hell, be doing a small private gig at some office, nervous as hell. And I felt like I would make any little mistake, and if I did make any little mistake, whether that was like forgetting a lyric, missing a step, I imagine like tripping on stage, I literally felt like my career would be done. I couldn't make any mistake, otherwise that would be it. It would be over for me. To the point where I honestly started creating like scenarios in my head, like what if I'm on stage and then my drummer forgets a certain beat, he misses a beat, and then that means I miss a lyric, and then I forget the whole song because I forget where I am, and I'm just there with the mic in my hand and everyone's staring, and then they start laughing, and then I run off stage and everyone's just like, is this your queen? Is this who you put in this position? And it would just all go down all at once. And so because I had all of these ideas in my head, I just became very critical and very anxious before getting on stage. And I also felt like everything would be ripped away from me. All the opportunities that I was given, I felt like I had to hold with both hands because of all of this messaging people kept telling me about black women in the industry. And they had no clue, people had no clue that I would be getting on stage and looking fierce and whatever. But backstage, I spent a lot of time crying, over-rehearsing, just not being myself. I'm a very like bubbly, chilled, relaxed person, but backstage, I'd be an absolute mess anytime I had a show. because I felt like I would let down all the black girls and I would also not be able to change my family's life the way I wanted to. So this basically meant that every single show became completely unenjoyable, and I started to hate performing because it just felt like stress. In the midst of all of that, I also had pressure to change my sound. At least that's the usual. Anyways, it's expected in this industry. But people who worked at radio told me that I had to follow the footsteps of the other members of the BBC Sound of alumni winners, and I had to make pop music if I wanted to follow in their footsteps. I needed to make music that fit onto Radio 4, which, by the way, no shade, but I'd never heard of that station. I had never ever listened. I'm not the demographic for that. But I was told if I wanted to sell albums, I had to make music that could fit onto Radio 4 because they're the ones that buy the Adele albums. So I had to fit into that. And so surely I was put into studio sessions with the same producers that made Adele's biggest hits and Sam Smith's biggest hits. And that resulted in me writing just, I don't know, for me anyways, middle of the road music that didn't represent me and speaking on subject matters that I just didn't really care about. They meant nothing to me. And my style of working became very mathematical. And that too just sucked all the fun out of something that I really, really loved. And that's creating music. So all of this went on for so long until I feel like I just got to a point. I think it was my second to last headline show, and I was backstage, and I just burst into tears because I was so anxious. I was trembling. I was trying to do vocal warm-ups. I couldn't even do the vocal warm-ups. I started crying, and my singing teacher was just looking at me like, are you okay? Like, what is going on with you? I couldn't keep it together. And that night went amazing. But the next day I had a conversation with myself and I said, this just can't continue. I can't continue feeling this heaviness before I go on stage. Like, how did something that brought me so much joy bring me so much heaviness? How did I let this pressure rob me of my excitement about music, whether it was from writing music I didn't like or tidying up my image or treading carefully when speaking in interviews, critiquing myself. It was just a lot of weight on my shoulders. So I decided that it was enough and I didn't want any more pressure from myself or from other people. And I think that moment came, that sort of turning point came when, like I said, I realized it's not that deep, bro. It's not that serious. You don't have to put so much weight on yourself because at the end of the day, it's just a performance. The world is not ending. And I don't have to prove anything to anybody. I'm nobody's savior, and I don't have to be perfect. Nor do I have to be anything that I'm not. And in every situation that I experience pressure, I ask myself, honestly, what is the worst that could happen? And reminded myself that once I've done my best, I literally can do no more. And then it's just in God's hands. And I decided that, I can't continue to do what everybody else wants me to do because it's not their journey. It's not for them to decide. And also that with their decisions, I'm the one who has to deal with the repercussions of that, whether it's me feeling like I'm making music that's not authentic to me, or experiencing all of the constant anxiety on stage and feeling like I was doing it for everybody else other than myself. One thing people like to say a lot, they love that saying, like I said, pressure makes diamonds. And they believe that it makes you go hard and brings the best out of you. But I really disagree with that, like strongly disagree with that, because I feel like pressure is confused with motivation, and pressure and motivation are very different things. Pressure is oppressive, it's forceful, demanding, burdening, and just puts you under duress. But motivation, however, is inspiring. It gives you drive, it gives you a sense of purpose as well because it's incentivizing. So I decided to turn my pressure into motivation. Instead of feeling a weight to be perfect, I'm motivated to be the best me I can be for myself and to represent myself how I want. Rather than feeling pressured to make big pop hits, I'm moved to make music that I love, that I think other people will love. And I no longer feel forced to make my family super proud because I feel driven and encouraged to work hard to achieve my goals, and that in itself gives them pride. I feel like we all feel pressure at times in our lives, whether that's pressure to follow a certain profession or change your look to fit the norm and follow the beauty standards that change every month. Or whether it's even like on Twitter, feeling like you have to be a millionaire at 12 years old. Because literally, I don't know if it's just my timeline, but on Twitter, there's like always an announcement. Someone's like, I've just bought my first Ferrari at 5 from this business I started 2 weeks ago. How amazing is that? And it just makes you feel like, oh my God, like I'm an absolute loser. Kylie Jenner is a billionaire at 21. Oh my, what have I been doing for my life all these years? And you just can't give in to that. You can't succumb to that pressure. So I want people to know that your life can only be lived by you, and you should enjoy your journey and not give in to pressure, but instead be motivated. And I wanted to be a bit real today. Before I came here, I was feeling very, very pressured because I just released a single yesterday, Lovesick. Download that, stream it, buy it, share it. Plug, plug, plug. I was just released a new single, and with that comes a whole lot of pressure. So I won't lie, before I came here this morning, I was crying. And I was saying to my manager, how am I even going to stand up there and give this like super motivational, inspirational speech about something that I'm not even practicing right in this moment? But then, do you know what? I picked myself up and I decided not to feel pressured, because at the end of the day, all it is I'm just releasing a song that I made that I like. And that's the sort of mentality I think we should have. All it is I'm studying something I like. All it is I'm trying to get into this industry, you know, not to make things more difficult than they need to be, and accept that pressure into our lives. And I'm also lucky enough to have a really great team who I can really rely on. So I don't have to carry that weight on my shoulder by myself. I share it. And I think everyone should share their pressure and their fears and their anxiety, because it's a lot to carry it all on your shoulders at once. So share your worries and your pressures and your anxieties with the people in your life, because they are there to help. But if you do feel pressured, when you pick yourself back up, shake that off. Don't let it take over your life, and instead use it to be motivated. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I feel very, very inspired, and I'm sure all of our members do too.
Oh, good.
I wanted to touch on something you said about the pressure to speak out versus stay in your lane, basically.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of your songs have talked about social and political issues, most notably Run, Run.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think you've managed to thread the needle between, you said, the stereotypes of an angry black woman. You've also noted that you felt a responsibility towards banding together for feminist and racial causes. Have you seen other people joining you in your cause? How do you feel like the way forward is?
Do you know what? Sadly, there hasn't been a whole load of other artists that have spoken out about those issues, whether it is racial injustices or injustices against women. But you know what? I don't even hold that against them, because I think it takes a lot of bravery to speak out about those things, especially do you know what? Firstly, some people just don't have the range. You just don't have the range to speak about certain things, and you don't want to embarrass yourself if people try to, call you out on certain things, or try and decipher how much you really know about this. So I understand why some people feel the fear to speak out. For myself, though, I think at one point I felt like there was an expectation of me to speak out on these things, especially after making a song like Run Run. A lot of the press that followed that, it was all about like, so what's going on in young black people's lives? Tell us, and you're the spokesperson. And I literally felt like the spokesperson, and that made me a bit uncomfortable at times talking about those things, especially because I feel like when people were discussing, knife crime, gang violence, it was just painting my community in a really negative light. And so my purpose of making Run Run was actually to show that, first of all, nobody wants to be in a gang. And this is not a lifestyle that people want to have, but it's a cycle that people get stuck in and they're unable to escape because they just don't have access to certain things. And instead, I decided, you know what? Instead of feeling like I have to be the spokesperson and this, I don't know, politician for the black people, just to say what was on my chest, which was that young people need more support. They need more support. They need more opportunities. Where I'm from, the opportunities that were there when I was growing up aren't there anymore. And that is why people feel like they have no other choice than to get into a life of crime. So I had to speak up about it, and me speaking about it in that way, I think made it easier for me to talk about because it's something that actually concerns me.
Yeah, that's really insightful on that point, actually, about access. You've spoken a lot about how a lot of your impetus and motivation to succeed is proving other people wrong. Mm-hmm. How do you think that's influenced your outreach programs, like your Just a Kid programs?
So much, honestly, so much. I've always been that way since I was young, where I'm just like, if somebody doubts me, I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, I don't know, it's the Leo in me, if people believe in all that weird stuff. That just thinks, yeah, I'm going to prove them wrong and show them that I am this and whatever. And I think I was lucky enough to, I don't know, be so driven to create opportunities for myself, and if I saw a potential opportunity to like run at it and grasp it. But so many other people who come from where I come from, they don't have those opportunities, but then also they don't feel that same level of drive simply because I always talk about representation. If you don't see yourself represented somewhere, you feel like it's impossible. How am I supposed to think I can be, I don't know, a doctor if I every time I go to the hospital, I've only ever seen, a white male doctor and I'm a black female. As a young person, you do digest all of that. You take all of that in. And so I think not seeing themselves represented made people in my community just feel like, well, there's no point trying because, I mean, look at the statistics. So for me, it's really important to go back to schools and talk to young people, because it's from those young ages that you have these beliefs in your head that, okay, that sort of thing isn't for me, or do you know what I mean? Or this thing is out of my reach. So just how I've always been, and also seeing my community and how, things are set up and realizing or learning about, I say, systemic racism has just made me feel like I have to go back to the schools and speak to the young people and tell them you can do absolutely anything. Nothing is out of your reach. If you apply yourself, you can do it.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. You're an amazing role model.
Oh, thank you.
One of my other questions is about your own role models. Mm-hmm. So in terms of your music and on your career, mm-hmm. do you have any specific influences that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, musically, I've always just been inspired by women, like a lot of women. Growing up, I listened to a lot of Mary J. Blige. That just comes from my mum. Mary and my mum are just two sisters. Literally every time we'd be in the car driving somewhere, if it wasn't gospel music or Whitney Houston, my mum would be playing Mary J. Blige. And you know, when I was young, I thought, oh yeah, these are kind of cool. But I didn't really take in the lyrics until I grew up, and I was like, oh my God, I relate to this so much. And I think that's definitely influenced my music and how I always want to write music that women can relate to. Of course, like Amy Winehouse as a songwriter, like her lyricism is just unmatched. And I listened to a lot of rap music growing up as well. I would say more rap than I did R&B. So, of course, like the likes of like Lil Kim, Missy Elliott, Remy Ma definitely influenced me as a rapper as well.
Yes, when your point about lyrics made me want to ask, like, what is your process for writing a song? Do the lyrics just sort of come to you? Do you do like the melody first? Like, talk me through your process of writing your song.
It's changed a lot actually from when I first started. When I first started writing music, it used to be something that I don't know, was so secretive to me. So I would do it by myself in my room. So I'd just like run a beat and just make everything up in my head because I didn't want to sing it out loud so no one would hear me. But now, usually when I get into a room, I like to start with the beat because I think that influences everything. For me, the production is the bed, and that's the real emotion. Like you can be singing about anything, but if the beat is not really matching up, it doesn't hit home. So for me, it's the production first, and then I'll always tell the producer, this is the type of mood I'm in. I want to make something like this, or this is what's been on my mind. And then I like to get on the mic and just freestyle, which again is something that's like now I'm used to it, but it was very new to me when I first started doing that. And I think that was just me getting more comfortable with myself and being like, I don't care if I say nonsense, I'm just going to throw something out there. So I go on the mic and I just kind of like mumble melodies, so it could have no words. It could be like a hum and a huh and a huh, whatever. And then eventually I will put words to that, to give it life.
Yeah, very cool. Do you think your music has changed in a lot of ways since you started? Is Lovesick a signal to a new era? What's coming next?
Definitely. Lovesick is a new era for me. I'd say my sound has changed. It's been a journey. And I think that's just because, like, as a new artist, you're just finding yourself. And that's why people shouldn't apply so much, like, pressure and expectation on a new artist, because it's like a baby that's just been born and they're just figuring stuff out. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had just finished uni and then it was all like, oh, this is happening and that's happening. And I was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about at all, but I had to pretend I did. So people should just, let new artists just be creative. So I tried out different sounds, different styles, but I feel like now I'm really in the pocket and like in the bag of where I've always wanted to be, being R&B music mixed with hip hop, because like I said, that's the music I love the most, is like hip hop and R&B. So I wanted to merge the two together. Now I feel like I've finally got the perfect balance for that. So I'm like super excited about the music I'm releasing now.
Top 3 favorite songs or albums besides your own, of course.
Oh, it's a sticky one. Ever. Okay. A Little Deeper by Miss Dynamite. Frank by Amy Winehouse. Oh my God, why are you doing this? Okay. Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. Yeah.
Thank you. That must have been difficult. I don't
That
think
was
I could
very
have come up
difficult.
with
Can I just
mine.
slide in a Kanye one there too? Yeah.
So speaking about changing gears and changing gears with Lovesick, what's coming next from you? Can we expect an album, performances virtually? What do you see up on the horizon for you?
Yeah, definitely an album. So Lovesick is the first single by that. The first single to the album. So I'm going to be releasing more singles and more visuals leading up to the album next year. In terms of performances, do you know what? I don't want to give anyone any false hope. Like, we're living in crazy times. I don't know. Like, I just don't know is the answer. But I'm going to try and do a virtual performance, and hopefully if the world goes back to normal next year, then I'm hoping to tour towards the end of next year.
That's so, so, so exciting.
Yeah.
I look forward to the album release.
Yeah, be there at the show too. And buy Lovesick.
You're all invited. One of my questions was about what being a feminist and like what a feminist album means for you.
That's a good question. For me, being a feminist has just meant me wanting to, I mean, really, it's very simple, just to have equality, just to feel like I have the same opportunities and to feel like I am looked at in the same way, not held to a different standard, and can express myself without being judged simply based off of my gender. And I think a feminist album, I can only speak on for myself, my music, how I make my music, and it's just about empowering women to let them know that they can do anything, they can be anything, and that they should feel comfortable with speaking out. I think for me, in this album that I've been working on, that's a big topic for me, is empowering people to say what is on their mind and to not feel like, I don't know, they have to have this persona of this perfect woman that's like just as a woman in the industry, it's almost like you have to be a little bit of everything. Like you have to be like super sexy, but not too sexy because then you're a hoe, and really strong and confident, but not too confident, otherwise it's intimidating to men. Calm down. And you have to be like funny, but not too funny because then we can't take you seriously. Like you talk about politics, but don't talk about politics because like smart people aren't sexy. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you have to be a bit of everything. And for me and my music, I just want to empower people and try to empower people to know that they can just be themselves and don't have to live up to a standard that society has created, because it's not even real. Societal structures aren't real. You don't have to stick to them. It's what I have to say.
Yeah, could you talk more about like how you've navigated the industry challenges as a Black female artist, which obviously put a lot of pressure on you, and what advice you would give to people facing similar pressure type challenges?
Do you know what the biggest bit of advice I would give to people is to just not feed into everything, because I feel like before I came into this industry, I didn't have a lot of these, I don't know, these like ideas about things, these preconceptions. Okay, cool, well, that thing's probably not going to happen because I'm a Black woman, or this thing people kept on telling me like, oh, Black women don't get those opportunities, okay? Or, you know, you're here now, you better hold on to it and go hard because you're probably going to go home soon. You know, people like suggesting things like that. You take it in, you do take it in. And I think, one, it makes you reduce your expectations. Two, it makes you feel like you're fighting a battle that you're not going to win. And so I would say for people not to listen to all of that and know that you're a person who, if you have the talent and the drive, like people are going to have to pay attention, whether or not you're a Black woman. If you have the talent and you have the work ethic that it takes, they have to listen, and not to give in to those things that are just really oppressive. Yeah, so that's how I've tried to navigate, to be honest, is reminding myself that no, nothing is out of reach for you. Don't let people tell you that is out of reach or that that's too big a dream. Yeah.
One question about the quarantine period. Do you think that's changed the way that you make music or think about a lot of the pressures and motivations that you've spoken about?
I mean, I've been thinking I need to find a new income stream because it's so crazy right now. Aside from the bag, aside from the money, I would say, you know what, it has affected the way I make music because I'm more like self-sufficient now, because I just had to learn how to do stuff myself. So I learned how to use Logic, which is like a music program recording program software. And I just taught myself how to do it. And you know what? I had been meaning to learn how to use Logic for so long. But, you know, you tell yourself, oh, you don't have the time and oh, it looks really complex. So I kept on putting it off. But then because I basically had to learn how to do it if I wanted to keep making music during quarantine, I just downloaded it and I figured it out in only like 4 hours. I was like, oh my God, this is really simple. So yeah, it's changed because my way of working has changed, because now I feel like, oh, I can just do stuff myself. Like I might just be at home more. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think we're going to open up to audience questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand, then a steward will come and give you a microphone if you're at the end of a row. All right. Could we hear from the girl in the black just over there?
I can hear you. Hiya. So actually, the name came about because initially I just wanted to be really different. I wanted to make a name that was really like super different and like an alter ego. But then I actually wanted a name that meant something as well. And so I decided to spell the black BLK to stand for Building, Living, Knowing. And those basically are the three things that are important to me and that I try and remind myself about. So building meaning, you know, working hard for the dreams and goals that I want to achieve and staying focused. Living, because I believe in living life to the fullest. Anyone who knows me knows I like to have a good time. And I think people should just be a bit more free and enjoy themselves and take risks. And then the knowing is because I would say I'm an advocate for education. Like, I believe that education can take you very far in this world, and also means that you just have a lot more knowledge than you would if you didn't educate yourself. And I just believe in learning throughout life, not just after school or after university, but like learning about other cultures, learning about how other people live their life, learning about, I don't know, wildlife. It's just important to keep learning new things, a language, whatever that is. Yeah.
You need to keep your mask on while you ask the question.
Hi, Ray. Thank you for the talk. I'm a football fan, and in football, there is a big campaign led by Prince William to do with mental health.
Sorry, can you put the mic a bit closer to your
Sorry.
mouth? Yes.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
So I'm a football fan. In the football industry, there's a big campaign to do with mental health. I'm sure everyone's seen. Do you think more should be done to combat mental health in the music industry, particularly as it seems like it stems from the industry itself?
100%. I actually was part of a really amazing discussion with other artists from Universal Music, which is where I'm signed to, where we spoke about things that we feel like it was particularly focused on the Black Lives Matter movement. And we had a discussion about things that we feel like that community, our community, needs help on. And for me, support with mental health was one of the most important things, because all artists experience pressure. And, there's a lot of expectation, and there's a lot required, and, people drag you online. And I feel like there's not really any support where you feel like there's somewhere you can go to say, this is what I'm going through, or to even hear other people say, I'm going through it. Because in our business, you're just supposed to pretend everything's great all the time. And a lot of the time, everything's really bad. So, not really bad all the time, but a lot of the time, a lot of artists are going through a lot more than you see. And some people have to deal with that in the public. So I genuinely feel like it needs to be more of a focus, whether that's just creating open forums for artists to discuss with one another what they're experiencing and sharing their stories, because I think there's comfort in that, in hearing that other people are experiencing what you're experiencing. and also just like assistance with how to deal with the pressures that come with it, because it's like you're just expected to jump on stage no matter what you're going through and be like, hello, Wembley, who's ready to have some fun, even though I was just crying downstairs. And then you come off stage and can feel really lonely, and you just don't know how to deal with it. And I think that's why a lot of artists turn to drugs. And I think if we want to save our artists and protect them, we definitely need more focus on mental health.
You and the high vis in the back.
Could you just tell me which sort of who inspires you? What's your style inspirations?
Oh, thank you. Well, this is Prada, honey. Okay, new season. Thank you. Thank you. My style. Oh, I'm really inspired by Rihanna, you know. I think she's honestly like the most stylish person on this planet. And it's just all self-expression. That sounds so like cliche and silly, but I'm one of those people who feel like the way you dress is you just expressing yourself. Like if I wake up and I feel really like bummy and rubbish, like I can wear a tracksuit or I can spice it up and be sexy. So Rihanna inspires me a lot in terms of fashion. And do you know what? My mum, it's so cringe, but my mum actually really inspires me. She's very glamorous. She loves heels. And from when I was young, my mum used to put me in like the little block heels for kids. And every outfit had a matching bag for me and a matching hat as well that she used to make. She used to be a designer. So she would design me dresses. So I would say that the kind of like flamboyancy, is that a word? Flamboyant? I don't know. I've made it up. Flamboyancy. How flamboyant my mum is with her fashion, I think, has made me feel like I can be the same way and wear whatever I like and just be crazy or loud. Yeah.
You in the black.
There is no corona in this place. They're wiping down everything.
Hiya. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, like, what would you say to the government right now who's kind of compromising the careers of creatives and artists?
Sorry, can you just put it a bit closer?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
oh, yeah,
yeah.
there we go. Sorry. What would you say to the government at the moment who's kind of compromising the careers of, like, artists and creatives who give us so much in society and telling you basically to find another income?
I would say that it is the government's business to ensure that the creative industries thrive, not to tell people, just figure it out. I'm pretty sure that was basically what he said. You know, just, I don't know, find something else to do. Yeah, it was that, find something else to do. But I don't know about the other industries, but the music industries creates a lot of revenue for this country, a lot. It's one of their biggest exports. And so I feel like it should be important to know how to ensure that people can be creative and can continue to add to the economy that is failing right now. It's definitely part of their business. That's what I would say. Yeah.
You in the blue in the back.
Hi. I was one of the things that I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about is an experience that you've had, and specifically I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about perhaps the most notable or influential artistic experience that you've had. I mean, it doesn't have to be the one, but something that comes to mind.
Artistic experience of my own, not like seeing another artist. Or... Okay. Okay. Oh, I've got a few actually. One was being in the studio with will.i.am when I went to LA, which was really random. But he reached out because someone on The Voice wanted to sing my song, and so showed him my song, My Hood. So he was like, girl, I love that My Hood song. You need to come to the studio. Sorry, that was a really bad impression. But yeah, and so I met up with will.i.am, and he is so free in the studio. And as somebody who, like I said, I used to just keep all my ideas inside because I didn't know if they were rubbish, and I just put them out when I feel like, okay, this is good enough. He just freestyles, and I think that's one of the places where I got the freestyling from. He would just, I remember he jumped on the keys and started freestyle. I mean, it was like he wrote that stuff. I thought you wrote that before you got here because it all rhymed. Or he was just, even if he made a mistake, he didn't care. He was just on the keys and he was like, what's up with the demons and the monsters? Politicians, they the monsters. And I was like, how are you doing this? Like, just off the dome. And he was like, you think that's hard? I'm going to put that down. And just the confidence of it, I loved the freeness of it. I think that was definitely a changing moment for me where I felt like, wow, I want to be like that. I want to just feel free enough to say whatever's in my head out loud and see how it sounds. And another person who does that is Wretch32, another incredible lyricist. He just paces around the room and like it's very energetic. He'll come up to you straight to your face and he'll just start rapping like, yeah, and and you're like, yeah, okay, all right, keep going, bit scary, but but I feel like just seeing people like that in their element makes you feel like I want to be in my element too. Like what you're doing, just this looks fun, and I want to do that. Yeah.
Could we hear from you in the black in the very back?
Hi, thank you. I'm coming from a really small village in Bavaria, from a non-academic background, so I would have never thought ending up in Cambridge. So for me, it was really touching when you said, "Don't let ever anyone tell you that you can't reach something." But you said, once you have the talent and the drive, you can make everything. I was wondering if there have ever been moments where you thought, "Oh, maybe I'm not talented enough." And then what did you do to convince yourself that you are enough?
Girl, I be feeling that a few times, like quite a bit. And that's normal. That's really just human. Yeah, like in life, we all face disappointment, like of all sorts. You know, especially when it comes to our career, I feel like, especially in the era we live now, our career is everything. Like that is your life. That is just your focus, especially at a young age. You're thinking, oh my God, what am I going to be tomorrow? And so when you don't get certain things you were hoping for, it is disheartening. Like it's heartbreaking sometimes even. And it has made me question whether I'm good enough for sure. Yeah, when I remember actually, when I had the song Run Run, I was trying to get a feature on it. I was trying to get a rapper to get on the song. And like, none of them wanted to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, is the song trash? Like, is that why none of them want to be on the song? I was like, okay, I don't want to put it out then because clearly it's trash because they don't want to be on the song. And I just really internalized that. And then eventually I was like, no, but you liked the song before. Don't let what other people saying no to you make you say no to yourself. And that's a big message as well for the album I've been working on, where it's like, if people keep saying no to you, please at least don't say no to yourself. Like, keep saying yes to yourself. So anytime I feel that way, like, am I good enough? Was that like subpar? Is that why, you know, this and that didn't happen? I remind myself that one, I didn't think that thing until I, you know, didn't get that opportunity or recognition. I didn't think I was trash. I didn't think that song was trash. And so to remember how I felt about myself and whatever it was that I was doing before any sort of public opinion or acceptance. And then, you know what else I do? Sometimes I just be running my own songs and I'm like, I like this girl. You know what? I mess with this girl. Definitely. And I mean, if you don't like yourself, you know, in the music biz as well, I always say to like new artists, if you don't think you are the hottest, if you don't think you are the best, forget about this. Because people are going to continue making you feel like you're definitely not the best. Whether that is them not playlisting your music, or not giving you recognition, or you're at a show performing to people and people are just chatting, or whatever, or there's rude comments on YouTube like, take this down, bro, this song is trash. You know, there's always going to be people that aren't, you know, like hailing you up. So if you don't think you're good, when they tell you you're bad, you're just going to be like done out here. You're not going to have that self-belief. So yeah, you have to keep reminding yourself how you felt about yourself before not being accepted.
I think that's all the questions we have time for today. But thank you so, so much, Ray.
Thank you, guys.
For coming.
Congratulations for being in Cambridge, by the way. That's dope.
And can we have a round of applause for Ray?
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Lovesick, out now. Out now.
And stream Lovesick.
Now. Oh, girl, you sing a song. Who said that? Let's do a duet. You gotta pay me, girl. I haven't made enough this Corona time. I need some cash. Oh, okay. Do you know what? Say that again. The new one. Okay. 1 minute, 30 seconds. My time is very pricey. You got the day that you left me. This will be the last time. You told me the last time you was done bringing no stress to me. Ain't nothing to talk about, I'm talking now. I'm trying not to curse you out, I'm walking, yeah. I might pull up in something vicious. Remind you of just what you missing, yeah. Make you so sick, might need prescription. Oh, my wrist glow cost me double digits. Woke up a villain. Leave him love sick, cause my heart's ice cold. I just froze up my wrist, cause my heart's cold. You dug your hole, gotta rest your soul. Love him, then leave him love sick, cause my heart's ice cold. I just... Woo! Out now, stream it, buy it, YouTube, Spotify.
That was amazing.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Please stay seated. We're going to have to do like a primary school dismissal, which I'll explain in a second.